So, here we go. I'm going to go for this one. And the question today is, I'm thinking of building a website. Where do I start? Okay. If you're thinking about building a website, the first thing I would say is go and do some audits. So go and have a look at your competition, take some screenshots, see the kind of things that you really like about their site, look at the things that you really don't like about their site, look at other industries and other websites, other brands that you sort of aspire to be like, and see what you like about them, if there's anything that you can take from that. The other thing is, if you're a small business looking to start a new website, have a look at your Google Analytics for your current site. So look at the content that's really performing, have a look at your keywords as well, because obviously you want it to be as good as it can be from a technical perspective. And this is basically why we created the Marketing MOT. So I had a client who completely wanted to overhaul what he was doing with his digital marketing. And we did all these audits, and it includes sort of, keyword recommendations, competitors, social media, content, etc., etc. So definitely go and have a look at those resources and start there, and start with some real data. Then when you're looking at your website, and before you start thinking about how the pages are going to look and the look and feel of the site, or what you actually want to say on the site, really think about the types of personality that are going to come onto your site, because people often forget that. So there are 3 different types of person that will come onto your site. You have the researcher, and they're generally tasked with getting as much information as they can. They're generally comparing you to competitors. So a few kinds of content that they really like are a one-pager explainer that they can download, because invariably they'll be asked to put a summary of all the different people that they've looked at. So if you've done most of the hard work for them, they'll appreciate you for that. If you can do features and benefits comparison table between you and your competitors, again, you're just saving them a whole load of time, so that's really useful. If you've got different prices of packages, then again, so I worked with an e-learning provider. They had a light version and a full fat version, and we put all the features down the side and then just ticked what you got in the light and ticked what you got in the full fat. So just so it was really clear what you weren't getting in the sort of lighter package for the cheaper price. So those kind of things are really useful. They also like FAQs, because invariably they will be asked by the people they're reporting to a whole bunch of questions that they will need to answer in order to provide the research and the recommendations. So having an FAQ section not only helps you with your Alexa strategy, so your voice search engine optimization, but also with your FAQs for the researcher type person as well. Case studies are always, again, a nice thing to have as a downloadable, because they can then send those to the people they're reporting to and say, these are the kind of clients they work with, we're quite similar to them, or we have similar problems. So really useful to do that. If you are a training provider, or you provide a lot of courses or anything like that, a prospectus is also a really useful thing to have on your site, just so people can really see the depth and breadth of what you sell, because often they'll be looking for a certain course, for a certain package, or to solve a certain problem, but then they won't understand how that fits into maybe a bigger training program or what have you. So also another really useful downloadable there. And it's a great part of your dark social strategy, because what you find now with websites is most people are emailing about them, and rather than just sending someone a link to a website, you can actually send them the relevant bit of information that they need, which is much better in terms of conversion rates, also I found. So that's number 1. What are the other 2 types of personality? Right, hold on. I've got this. I've written a blog on this, so I'm just going to grab that now. I'm just going to run on to amari.co.uk, And then I'm going to run down to the search bar, put in website, there we go. And then, yeah, how not to build a website, because I wrote this blog a while ago on this. Right, yes, so you've got the driver. So the driver is usually tied to corporate initiatives. They're responsible for meeting targets, and their current solutions are possibly not providing that. So for them, they love case studies. They like to see it in action. And they, you know, your content for them needs to be more problem orientated, more solution orientated. Be bold, be brief, be gone. Make sure they can get the information they need and just carry on. And again, they're sort of dependent on the researcher pulling most of that stuff together. And then you have the money, of course. So they're the ones that need to understand the clear financial benefit of doing what, you know, for moving to your product or service. So for them, I'd be focusing on facts and stats. I'd be focusing on results. I'd be focusing on you know, different levels of pricing. So I have a pricing waterfall for clients. So all of those sorts of things I'd be focusing on for them. So that's really important. So yeah, that's the other thing to do before you start a website is to think about your design principles. So do you want it to be user friendly? Do you want it to have a lot of white space? You know, and how that journey needs to be quite easy for people to navigate through. And then how do you balance that with your SEO needs? So you know, when I was doing my new site recently, I spoke to our SEO expert Ollie, and I was like, I really don't understand. I know it's, you know, very technical. I just need a few basic things that I can do now to just sort of help us a little bit. And for, you know, he said there were 10 things that he gave me to do. But one of the things was making sure I had different pages for the different services I offer. So that was just a really basic one. Now for me, I don't like having a lot of information on the site. I prefer to keep it quite clean, quite tidy. So I've then had to balance my design principles and my sort of, you know, simplicity is elegance motif with this whole SEO technical. I actually need to, you know, generate inquiries from the website. So how do you balance that? The other thing I do before I even start on the look and feel of the different pages is I will be looking at, you know, sitemap. So I'll be looking at what pages go where, how do they interlink with each other, where do people go through that awareness to buying journey, if you like. And then the other thing about that is most websites only focus on the awareness to buying, whereas actually there's this whole raft of information that you can have from the buying to brand ambassador stage of the journey. So it's really basic stuff like making sure that your social media icons are there, you know, having click to tweets in your blog post where you can just click a certain, you know, quote from the blog and then it shares the blog. So it makes it really easy for people to share your information. You know, asking people to share it on social media is obviously a good one. Making sure that you have a newsletter that people can sign up to. So if they want to, you know, they're not ready to buy, but they you know, they're interested in your content, there's stuff that you can be sending them. Having a loyalty program and putting that on your site is often a good one. You know, yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can utilize your site to make that happen. You know, IM, like whether you're going to have instant messenger in there is also another thing to think about. Are you going to have third-party integrations like Calendly where people can just book appointments in with you straight away? You know, are you going to go WordPress? Are you going to go Squarespace? You know, which there's loads of other ones as well, by the way, but those are the two I use most often. So you know, what kind of functionality are you going to need with your website? Is it something that you're going to want to update, or is it something that you're going to get someone externally to update? You know, all that sort of thing. I think if you're a startup and you're looking at websites, then just think about home, about product or service, some form of blog, resource section and a contact us page, just to keep it really nice and simple when you're starting out. And that's why we've done that as part of our startup branding package. So yeah, more about this on my website, so feel free to go and have a look there. I'll put some resources in the comments, and yeah, that's it for today, I think.